Our next speaker is from Gaza. Maysara Ibrahim is a British Palestinian who's originally from Gaza City. He, like countless, has seen family members killed in the recent attacks and the barbaric Israeli bombardment. He's a specialist in education, diplomacy, and he'll be speaking for a few minutes, 5 to 6 minutes, on his personal experience of the genocide. So, Maysara, over to you.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm pleased to share this platform with a wonderful panelist and wonderful audience. I actually was born and raised in Gaza. And of course, as every Palestinian, as a refugee, I lived in a refugee camp, Jabalia refugee camp in the north of Gaza, where I grew up and lived there for a significant time of my life. Before moving to live in Gaza City, after my dad worked so hard to find us a very good house outside the refugee camp. I'm also a survivor of the Israeli 2008 unprovoked attack on Gaza, which has claimed the life of more than 1,400 people. I myself witnessed the killing of a few different people before my eyes, including boys, which Israeli occupation forces later on announced they are targeting Hamas, which the event took place in front of my eyes. Something I will never forget, which I don't really like to talk about, to be honest. Basically, Gaza, as known to everyone, is like a concentration camp. We are actually living in a concentration camp, a place which is controlled by Israel from air, from ground, and from the sea. And anyone goes out of Gaza is born alive again. It was a very difficult life, to be honest. It is a very difficult life. My entire family, they live in Gaza at the moment. My parents, my siblings, my wife's family. My family actually didn't refuse to leave a home in Gaza City. The home that my dad worked so hard for, sweat and tears for years until he managed to pay back the mortgage, as every other Palestinian people. So please, when you hear someone's home was bombed, just remember this. It is actually the hard-working. And in Gaza, the culture of the Palestinian people is centered around a family home. It is centered around a family home. Family in our life is everything. So they refused to leave, but Israel rained them with artillery shelling and bombing, so they basically escaped middle of the night, running from one home to another home, and then luckily they made it out alive. When I spoke to my dad next day, my dad is a strong man. He's always actually tried to be strong for us, providing for us, working so hard. But that was the first time ever in my life I've seen him weak. I've seen him actually traumatized and very, very terrified. And the reason why, when they went out, they have seen horror that you only see in the movies. Bodies of people killed, hundreds, on the streets of Gaza. Families, children, women, men, they're all lying down, soaking in their own blood. And that's why, because what Israel do, they have these sniper drones. So they're actually flying all over Gaza and killing every single person moving in the city. My family were lucky, but those people, unfortunately, who've had bags, and it seems that they were running away, but they didn't make it actually to safety, or what's so-called safety. So that scene actually traumatized my parents, and of course my siblings, their spouses, their children, something that my dad told me he has never ever imagined in his life is going to see. It is genocide. It's killing innocent people for nothing. And then when they made it to the so-called safe corridor, they have seen more bodies on the road of that safe corridor. And literally after they passed, the Israeli snipers killed families behind them. Again, more killing. And when it comes to killing, Israel is very innovative. My family made it to safety. They now live in shelters, in dire conditions. As you all know, winter has just arrived. They couldn't actually pack any winter clothes. They're struggling to find water, trying to find food. They actually live in cramped places, in very difficult conditions, but at least they're still better than my wife's family, who've been wiped out. The second week of the attack, we woke up in the morning to hear a news that they bombed a civilian residential neighborhood in south of Gaza. And one of these houses were my family's house. Unfortunately, that had killed my wife's eldest brother, Hamid. He's about 35 years old. And 3 of his children. Kamal, 11 years old. Omar, 4 years old. And Rima, which I haven't yet met, 1.5 years old. Kamal always wanted to come to the UK to study medicine. He's really good in science and mathematics. And I remember when I met him last year in Gaza, he was so energetic, so disciplined, so dedicated. And even I told my wife, this child will become something in the future. But unfortunately, it looks like I didn't read the future very well. What remained of my wife's family who survived the bombing, some of them sustained severe injuries and they all went to Shifa Hospital. But when Israel sieged the Shifa Hospital, they've been forced to leave. So they left to stay with my sister-in-law, also in south of Gaza, having to go through all this so-called safe corridor, walking, and some of them were pushing them in chairs and moving chairs and until they made it to safety. Just 3 days after our parliament voted against the ceasefire, my sister-in-law, that had what remained of my wife's family, bombed again, killing my sister-in-law. She's a university lecturer. Her name is Sumaya. She specialized in physics, a very, very intelligent person. Her husband, my childhood friend, the one who introduced me to my wife, Basil, he's an IT engineer, was killed. Their beautiful 4 children, Haneen, 7 years old, Muhammad, 3 years old, Aboud, 1.5 years old, and Jannah, 4 years old, or 5 years old. Let me just remember just the names, sorry. I need to get them. So Jannah, 7 years old, Leen, 5 years old, Muhammad, 3 years old, and baby Aboud, 1.5 years old. Basil's father, Abdul Azim, a retired civil servant, a very nice guy. I've met him in person. And Basil's mother, Salwa. When they invited me to their home, I tried her food. And it was really nice, especially the Palestinian couscous. My brother-in-law, Muhammad, the youngest and the funniest, also was killed. And that's basically and they killed also the rest of my friend Basil's family as well. 2 remained of my wife's family, her sister and 6 children. We don't know yet, where are they? Under the rubble, we don't know. And another brother, we don't know also. Because it might be under the rubble, we don't know. Her family completely wiped out. Just a few days ago, I was sitting and my wife was posting something on WhatsApp. So I said, look, what are you doing? Who's you sent your messages to? So I've had just a peek. And she was sending photos to her family WhatsApp group. And I said, what are you doing? It's like, just sending something, hoping someone would reply. And this is that was one of the things, I was absolutely speechless. I didn't know what to say. And then my wife staring on her phone all the time, just going through that WhatsApp group, seeing all the conversations she had with her family, the photos, the videos, and smile and cry all day long. And people, yes, we're strong, but we're not okay, and we will never be okay. This is something that we have never in our entire life imagined. Entire families are wiped out before the very eyes of the world. The civilized world. The world that's been preaching us about equality, about justice, about freedom for years and years. And when it came to actually what's really happening right now, they denounced these values. They denounced these principles. And instead of just denouncing them, they're also complicit. They're sending weapons of mass killing and mass destruction. Gaza has completely destroyed. If you see, guys, the photos and the images coming out from there, it's an absolute disaster. 8,000 people under the rubble. So like for us now, we always actually just try to think, what if my sister-in-law and her 6 children were alive? How their life would be right now? Without food, without air, screaming, dying slowly. The same concept applies on 8,000 people under the rubble. Speaking of the breaking the cycle of Israel's war crimes, first of all, to break the cycle, the killing has to stop, has to end. Wiping out families. Wiping out families entirely. The entire bloodlines. This is insane. We have never ever heard of it. You know how many families? More than 1,200 families been wiped out. Complete bloodlines just disappeared, 3 or 4 generations. So if our government and our politicians don't see this as a genocide, so what is a genocide then? What is a genocide? What is ethnic cleansing? If this is not to be considered as ethnic cleansing. Another aspect that those people who've committed these crimes, they have to be brought for justice. They have to stand in front of courts and to be sentenced, to be trialed. This is, and the only solution that's going to happen, those people have to be brought to justice. Because every one of us, when we go to protest, you hear people saying no justice, no peace. And yes, we mean it, no justice, no peace. Because the Palestinian people are unbreakable. We are strong. We are remarkable and proud people. We are strong people that we will never bow down. We will never give up on our rights. Yes, they wiped our families. Yes, they reduced our city into rubble. But we will keep standing up again and again until we live free like anyone else. Until someone like me who live in the UK can now book a flight and go to visit my family. Not to struggle for days until I reach Gaza and see my family, which I haven't seen for 9 years. Alhamdulillah, I managed to see them last year after 9 years of separation. And I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for granting me this opportunity to see them. And if that was the final seeing, at least I've seen them. But I really hope that's not the final. But for my wife, it was the final goodbye. And we wished, the only thing I wish for, that we knew that when we told her family goodbye, that was the last goodbye. I hope that we really knew that. But anyway, this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plan. And we are believers. We're people who are strong. We have strong in our faith. We are proud of our culture, of our heritage. We are proud of us being Palestinians. And we know very well, we belong to Palestine. And in Palestine, we belong. Thank you.
Thank you very much.